What's going on, guys? I'm James.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm Dakar.
And you're tuned into the Monday Coffee Show. Today we're going to continue our conversation about the LGBT community, so stay tuned.
Life is about trial and error. And, I had some trials and, at times it was like, oh, this is nice. This is not what I want. I didn't like that. So you have to kind of do certain things to figure it out. But if people would just mind their own business and allow you to be you, you can figure that out on your own.
There was a meme that I saw that I posted on Facebook. It said, you wouldn't be offended or worried about another person's gender, sexuality, or anything else if you just minded your business. That's how I feel. If you mind your business, you're not worried about what anybody else is doing.
And to kind of like what you were saying about people putting it on you first, like that happened to a friend of mine, like one of my closer friends growing up, where he has since come out as an adult that he is a gay man, and like now he's dating and he's like there's all this stuff, but like when we were in high school, like in middle school, like people would make jokes, they would do all this stuff, and he was so turned off by that he like turned away from it for such a long time. And I'm very happy now that he has kind of found this for himself and is like living his life the way that he should have been living his life
from the beginning.
Right, from the beginning, without this stupid interference. And because that was always really frustrating to watch, that he couldn't
be him.
Yeah, be him, and that or just live his life and do stuff. And so that was always terrible.
And it's always fear of being ostracized from what the norm or what the group. You kind of want to be. We're almost genetically, predispositioned to want to be part of a community or want to be part of something. And when you find yourself on the outside of whatever that something is, and they constantly, they kind of poke you with a stick. They're like, oh, yeah, haha, you're different, but yeah, everybody's different. It's just that everybody in this group found some type of common ground. You guys all, like sports, or you like this, or you all like women, or you all like, theater, or you all like games and all that. Everybody, I always found myself, as I was growing up, I found myself in part of multiple groups. In school, everything was very segregated. It was there was all the black kids that sat together, and then there was the preppy, and then there was the jocks, and then there was the kind of the outcasts, but not really outcasts, but they just seen things a little bit differently. They liked anime, and they liked video games and things like that. And I found myself being the type of person that, I found confidence in myself at a very young age. Even though, or I put on that facade, I was very confident, even though, at times I felt like I wasn't confident. I was very too much to myself, but I put on, much thicker skin when I went out, and I finally went to school. I would put myself out there oh, I'm just so out there, and I'm so, talkative and so extroverted, when I was really a low-key introvert. When I went home or when I left everybody, I was very much to myself, didn't much want to go outside or meet none of the people that I lived around, because I was still trying to figure out some things in myself. And it's easier that when you're forced into a situation to have to, sink or swim. And I'm not one to sink and drown, so I'm gonna figure it out when I'm in that situation. But it was a process, taking it back and going back home and trying to figure out who I was. And it really sucked because, everybody expected that person all the time. They always expect the Dakar that's hey, and, all party and all fun and always in the mix. But I wasn't that person. It was fun when it was fun, but to be honest, it's very exhausting.
Yes.
It's very exhausting.
Not only that, I think it's important to also pinpoint that there are issues within the LGBT community as well, because one thing I found interesting, not in a good way, is that for a group that's discriminated against, they can be so self-discriminatory. For example, We talked about this before. There's a club here in Philadelphia called Eye Candy. Do not go there. Um, the owner was caught on video saying like racist comments or whatever, and it's like you can't sit here and complain that you're being discriminated against and then discriminate against somebody else. And of course, people are going to say, "Oh, well, hurt people hurt people." That's not. You shouldn't be encouraging that cycle. Like you can't just justify it that way, or just say, "Well, he was, discriminated against, so he's just projecting his own insecurities on other people." That's not how issues are resolved. That's not how society progresses as a whole. And I also feel like not only in that regard, but also in the regard of masculinity. There are so many people who look at men, gay men, and are just like, there are so many gay men who are just like, oh, I'm only into this type of guy, which is understandable. Everybody has a preference, but it's like there's a limit to that. Because when it's just like, oh, well, anybody who's femme or anybody who's Asian or whatever, like, no, don't want them. There's a difference between having a preference and just being
Discriminatory.
perfect. Yeah, what is the word I'm looking for? Purposefully discriminatory and like excluding. So it's like, to me, if you're not interested in somebody, it's easy to just say, not interested, move on. If they feel some type of way, their problem. But to just kind of put out that negative energy already, it's like that's not helping anybody come together as a community, as people like to try to say, like we all stick together and we don't.
Right.
It's like being open to just accepting people, like being open to get to know people, being open to seeing more than the physical is how people grow, how communities become stronger.
Right. And not just the physical, but see more than what's right in front of you. Because, I think for a very progressive group of people, they are very nearsighted. Like if it's not right in front of them, or if it's not all the glitz and glam, that they don't want that. And I'm like, that, it doesn't make sense. Like, even to touch base on what you're talking about, like, why do we have to, even, and that's, and specifically with that place, that bar, it's like, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Because at the end of the day, you discriminate against a whole culture of people, but they're the majority of the people that come to your establishment.
They're also the majority of the people who live in Philadelphia.
True.
Like, that's what your city is.
Right. So it's kind of like, why would we put ourselves in why would you put yourself or allow yourself, regardless of whatever your personal ideals are, you're running a business. And when you run a business, you're not going to get everything that you want all the time. Like, yeah, you can, pick and choose who you want to work with, but if you want to stay in business, there's no picky and choosy. It's whoever has the money and whoever wants to spend their money on whatever you're providing, that's who you're going to work with. And just like, me, take it back to what I do. As a makeup artist, I didn't want my brand to, like, I love, melanin and I love, my people, but at the same time, I don't want to be generalized as a black makeup artist that does only black makeup, because at the end of the day, that's limiting my brand and that's limiting my business. I do all different types of skin, and I pride myself on that. And I find that even in those situations, like if I don't put out work or add things to my portfolio that showcase all of the various different, things that I can do, then how can I expect to grab that clientele or to keep that clientele? They only, if you're trying to book something, or if you're trying to get somebody to come to your place, but the only advertisement that you show is just one type of crowd, like to say like eye candy, like if all you have in your establishment is a whole bunch of white bartenders and all of your flyers are a whole bunch of, hunky white men, like how do you expect to grasp, or to grab a whole community? You can't, because it kind of feels like, oh, that's the white club or the white bar, when it really probably wasn't until that whole situation happened. To go to like a place like Taboo, where it's kind of like a melting pot. Like there's a little bit of everybody there. You'll find all the different stereotypes or stereotypical type of men, but it's kind of like, it's almost like a safe haven. Even there is a little bit here and there where people are like, oh, they're to themselves, but it's just nice to go to a place where you'll be able to see everybody, and everybody's having a good time together. Like, that togetherness is what we need to bring back to our community, instead of always trying to stick out or always trying to be apart from each other. that's like we need to come together as a people, and it sucks that we always have to come together over either some kind of substance, like some types of substance abuse, like rather it be alcohol or drugs. Like that's the only place that you ever really see everybody come together. And back in the day, it used to be like music and art and all of these other different things that I can't think of all of them right now, but there were all different types of things that brought everybody together, and I feel like everybody is just trying to be in this, I'm just in this lane.
In Germantown, there's a place that's opening up that's going to be like a sex positive center.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a sex club, it's not a swingers club, it's not a gay club, and it's not like part of their deal is that they don't want it to be they don't want like any alcohol or drugs in the place, because they're like, listen, there's so many like queer spaces that are very centered around alcohol. Like we have so many clubs, but like that one keeps people who are under 21 out, and usually people who are struggling with their identities the most.
Right.
And then also like there are people like my sister who is an asexual woman who like she doesn't really want to go to the clubs because she's not trying to pick people up, but she also doesn't want to go to the clubs because she doesn't like drinking.
True.
So for her, like she always kind of wanted a space like that, and so like she just moved. So like she's not gonna get this one, but like
she'll get another one.
Yeah, I'm sure she's in Seattle, so I'm sure there's something cool out there.
Probably definitely a whole bunch of coolness out there.
But I'd like to say thank you for coming on. This has been a super engaging conversation with a lot of information, a lot of cool stuff, and a lot of like me like hearing perspectives that are definitely outside of my own.
Well, thank you.
So it was very very cool of you to come on. I'm sure that James feels the same way.
Of course.
And then we'll have links down in the description for Dakar's company and his work and the stuff that's going on there, so that you can if you need someone like I said, thank you very much. This has been great. We're gonna have those links, and until next week, enjoy your coffee.